All right. Hey guys, GM, thank you for joining us for another episode of Hacker Hangouts. This is episode 7. Uh, we're joined by Mateo. He's the head of developer relations at Apus Network. We're going to talk about all things AI on AO. I'm your host, Rohit or Ropats. For those of you new here, Hacker Hangouts is a weekly podcast we do every Tuesday where we cover cool projects and builders, founders on Arweave and AO. We talk about their stories, we see demos, we get insights from them, alpha, and we also have a live Q&A. So uh, before we dive into the main topic, Mateo, do you want to give us a little background on how you got started, how you got into Web3, and then on RV with AO?
So, how I got started within Web3, over the past handful of years, obviously, Bitcoin has been going all over the news. Like that's how I first initially got interested. And then I just started doing some research on my own. As I went to university, I took some classes centered around blockchain, and then joined the university blockchain club, and I became president of that club and just really immersed myself, did a deep dive on different ecosystems, and then we're developing on these different ecosystems. Why, I started to identify like trends in different markets because once you like follow where like the developments are going, you could also be able to like predict the trends of where the markets will go. So that's kind of the approach I took to this. And I thought it was really interesting, and I thought blockchain was interesting, one just as like a storage system or just information system, most fundamentally, and it has some added benefits of like security, decentralization, anonymity. So I thought these were really cool in contrast to like just the present Web 2 information infrastructure that Web 2 currently holds. Um, yeah, so I'm currently the Yale Blockchain Club president. So if you guys also want to connect there as well, feel free to hit me up after this. Um, and then I joined the Apus team last spring, or early last spring. They reached out to me through some mutual connections, and I was already exploring my own interest with AI, and after a conversation with the team, we had some similar interest, and I also thought the project for building a decentralized GPU is quite incredible. Um, that's how my motivation began to step into the realm of Apus Network. And as far as Arweave and my experience there, I had heard about Arweave just mainly as like the data storage. Um, Layer for blockchain, like this permanent data storage. And I thought that was really interesting. Although, I would say that initially my perspective was naive, as I wasn't doing a deep dive in Arweave earlier, just because I was like exploring other trending ecosystems. But our Arweave is interesting in that it keeps its network small. Like even some conversations that I have with people outside the ecosystem, they're kind of oblivious to Arweave, um,
Yeah.
which I think in some ways is done intentionally to keep the network very like manageable at the time. Because if it was too congested, then there would be some issues that would pop up. So I think it's a really smart move for now, and obviously it's a long game that we're playing at, and yeah, I think it's really cool. And yeah, joining the Arweave ecosystem, obviously, like over the past summer, they've announced this AO hyperparallel supercomputer processing system, which is just an additional layer on top of their storage. And it kind of opened this door to a world where there's this huge decentralized computer. And connected to this decentralized computer is a GPU, work team, Apus Network, which is where our team comes into play. So I hope that was like a good enough background. If anyone has some questions about background right now, I'm happy to answer. So I'll keep my eye on the chat.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, if you have any questions about this, feel free to drop them in the chat. And we'll also set up a forum later on. So if you have any questions after this session as well, you can tag in Mateo there as well. But yes, let's get into the main presentation. Do you want to share a little about what Apus is and then what you're going to demo for us today?
Yeah, for sure. I'll go ahead and just share my screen so I could open up the Apus webpage, and then just do some live explanation.
Sweet. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It looks like.
Now you're sharing
So are
Discord.
you able to? Okay, you're able to see. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're building a trustless network for AI on AO. And that's kind of a broad explanation. What does it mean to be a trustless GPU? Why is it a network? What differentiates this between like IONet, Akash, who have like GPU aggregation? And the idea is with Apus Network, we are ourselves primarily just developing software to ensure that GPUs are able to run in a deterministic way. And how does determinism really relate to trustless? Like whenever I contact to or interact with ChatGPT, I'm sending a message to a centralized system, and within the system, there's like a flow of processes. So I send my message, my prompt to their information infrastructure, and that's going to be queued up with like everyone else's requests. Then it's going to be sent to a specific model to process, and then um, it's going to be like this model is also hosted on a device, and it's going to be processed through like a specific GPU. But then if you send like another if you send another prompt with the same exact prompt, then you're going to get a different answer. But obviously, there's some there's some probabilistic tendencies for AI, which is a natural thing for AI. So why are we bringing determinism into this? So you could imagine an example where you're using AI models for more critical applications like healthcare, financial, predictive models, or some healthcare analysis models. So if you're trying to do some prediction of disease just based on an image, or prediction of disease based on some various symptom information, then these models, you want to be able to reproduce these results, and you want them to be very precise. Now, the precision of a model is just dependent upon the training, and that's not what we're focused on. What we're focused on is we're gonna bring in good models, and whenever we have these good models, we're gonna run them through this GPU. And then if we run it again and again and again, every single time we'll get the same exact answer. So it brings this consistency. With this consistency, it brings verifiability. For example, for like a more common user, whenever you prompt a system and you kind of doubt that you're interacting with like ChatGPT 3.5, which is the one you selected, and you could challenge that, and whenever you challenge that, there'll be like a small proof of fault that you'll be sent back, which is much lighter weight than any ZKML. So some other forms of verifiability right now are like ZKML, economic incentive models, and also just like Akash uses a model where they recompute after there's like a challenge system. So our system, because it's deterministic, makes the whole system more efficient. One, we don't have to recompute to verify, and our proofs for verification are much more lightweight than ZKML. And then we want people to have access to whatever models they want. So we in the future plan to like upload more models to this, and we want people to also be able to plug in their GPUs to the AO ecosystem and be rewarded for that. And people are also going to be rewarded for our competition pools. So I'll go ahead and just start diving into our competition pools, but I'll repeat the bottom line that we're building a trustless GPU network specifically for AI on AO, and we're building it for AI in the sense that we are not doing training, we're doing inference, and I guess that's our lead into competition pool. So you're able to access it directly through our network, but whenever you access our system, you'll want to make sure you have an AR Connect wallet, and you want to have that signed in already. You could also access this through two other modes. We've provided these other modes just for redundancy and also to help prevent some bots from spamming our competition pools. So one of them is through the AR IO EX experience through their Zleak Quest. So for this newest competition pool, the theme is Walter White, and we are cooperating this with AR.io. And if you go to this website, you'll be able to see under the special quest, the Apus Network competition pool number 4. And on this page, you'll want to make sure that first you have you've joined this. You've joined their system, so you want to successfully onboard. You have to go through these first initial quests, and then you'll be able to join this module here. And this will open up tomorrow, Friday. This is like your sneak peek into the competition. And then we also have another means of joining the whitelist through Decentramind. So here you'll also join. You could just click join, and then you will have to begin your vouch. It's a very similar process. You submit your X handle, you submit your AR Connect wallet, and that's pretty much it. So let's go back to the competition pool. So here you could see, I'll zoom in a bit. Here you could see our past competition pools: Sam's Digital Twin, AI, AO Assistant, and then Digital Twin for Satoshi Nakamoto. So our most recent one is for Walter White. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Breaking Bad in the show. So this is the general format of our page. We have the header and with all of the information about our competition pool, including the duration, some links to how to prepare a data set, which we're about to explore, and then obviously the requirements. So once you prepare a data set, you'll be able to see yourself on the dashboard and then on the leaderboard. So for example, you could see right here highlighted in blue is a data set that I've prepared earlier and I've submitted to the competition pool. It was like a very basic test data set, and you could see that the score is 57. Now it shows my rank is as 5th place here, and it just puts you at the top just so you're able to just see it for yourself. Now, if you open up this page, obviously after you submit a data set, you're gonna have your own data set up here on the top just for easy viewing, and then you could interact with these chats here just by clicking chat or going to the playground. So if this is the chat you selected, you're able to interact with it at your will. let's say, who is Walter?
Hey, Mateo, can
And then-
you just bump up the zoom by maybe 1 or 2 clicks? 1 click, maybe.
Yeah, let's do 1 click. How's that?
A little bit bigger. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. So in this,
Okay.
you're chatting with the data set, right?
Yeah, in this you're chatting with the data set. So before I walk you through the, I guess maybe the, yeah, so this right here is the data set itself. And very soon I'm going to show you how to prepare this, and then we'll do a live presentation. Now, it's important to mention kind of how these are working in the background. So we've have this new on-chain system for AI. It's RAG. The RAG itself is not new, but bringing it on-chain is what's new. So just for those who are unfamiliar with RAG and AI preparation, or generally anything AI. So for an AI system, you have some information that you want your AI to like understand. And to do that, there's many ways to do that. You're able to train it, you're able to fine tune it, and another one is called RAG. So RAG stands for retrieval augmented generation. So whenever you interact with the model, you prompt it, and then it generates something. So with this retrieval augmented generation, whenever you prompt it, it identifies your question. So right here, I ask, who is Walter? And then in the background, you have your various pieces of information. You could imagine this to be just an array of questions and answers. That's essentially what it is. And that's how the RAG system works. So you ask it this question, and it looks at your array of questions and answers, and then it identifies the most similar question to this, and then it also, while identifying this question, also understands the answer within this single row. So with this row, it's attached to a prompt and then sent to the AI model, who processes it and then develops a more specific, nuanced answer to your question. And a RAG system is good to keep your information up to date. It's good for like live information. For example, you could have a RAG system that tracks like live financial data, just so you have like a heavy live stream of information. So let's go back 1 page to the competition and then begin to understand how to actually build a data set. The task really isn't as daunting as you might feel at first if you haven't done this before. So essentially, you're just giving the AI model information about Walter White in this pool, and that's part of the reason we wanted to make it relatable. Like, people know Walter White, they understand who he is, and they understand the answers to expect when you interact with him. So yeah, again, Walter White's from Breaking Bad. We want here to format the data in JSON format. If you're not really familiar with it, it's literally brackets, parentheses, and then commas. So this is like 1 unit of information, and you have to follow this exact format. So the contents in quotes, colon, and then you have your question. And then you have your question here, and you have your answer. And this is kind of the row of the table I was describing earlier. It's literally just question and answer format, and it's captured by this piece of information called content. So how do we get all of this content information? Like, I'm currently unfamiliar with JSON. I'm unfamiliar with RAG. So let's just take note of this. So I have my just like a blank slate. So we understand that this is the format that we need. So let's just title this needed format as JSON. And let's begin to look up some pieces of information to find things about Walter White. So I began my browsing of Walter White. Here we see the Wikipedia page. We see just like some initial prompting here. Maybe we could go into a fandom. All of these obviously are about Walter White. We could even watch this episode, get the transcription of it, just pull out the raw text. We could even get information from this Breaking Bad Wikipedia page. But let's just go directly to the Walter White, to the source, the Breaking Bad Walter White Wikipedia page. So this page is going to be dense with paragraphs and paragraphs of information about Walter White. It's going to be extremely tedious to break this down into questions and answers and just type it out into JSON format. So how do we recommend you to approach this? I personally don't recommend you to tediously do this line by line. I recommend you to use AI or a Python program. If you're comfortable with those. I'm sure most of you have used ChatGPT before, so that's like a familiar tool I'll be showing you how to go through today. So obviously this is very dense with information. There's subcategories about like concept and creation. This another thing I'll make apparent is that you want to make sure that the data you are providing is very specific to the task at hand, to the requirements. So we're making this about Walter White. So right here you can see we're on the Walter White Breaking Bad page. Some people might just go ahead and select all and say like, okay, yeah, all of this information is good, but it really isn't. Here in concept creation, this is talking about like other people who aren't Walter White. They're talking about different TV shows and things. Anyways, let's just go ahead and select these first handfuls of paragraphs, and they look very packed with information about Walter. So we have our first pieces of information. We have our needed format as JSON, and then we'll have our raw info. And whenever you like talk to an AI, you want to give it a task to do. So let's prompt it something. So here, using the raw data, format it into question and described by the JSON. So we could use just this tiny piece of information here. Maybe we could get another couple of paragraphs. Let's see. So character biography. This is really good. This is going to be dense. Maybe let's just stick to season 1 because this is like many paragraphs of information. I'll just go with background. Yeah. So when creating this data set, you see that I'm not just blindly taking all of the paragraphs. I'm using ones that are specific to Walter. And I'm also you could see that I'm like continually adding things to like my information repository here. So like with this, we have this needed format, we have our raw data, and we have our prompt. So it looks like this should be enough information in these paragraphs to make like 20 JSON questions. So maybe we could include that into our prompts. Make around 20. Okay. So let's copy this into ChatGPT. We have our prompts and we have our data. And it should be able to process this for us very smoothly. And this is a process that I recommend you take. And yeah, again, I don't recommend that you do this line by line. That's going to be very tedious and inefficient. So you could see like maybe by the time I've made 3 of these questions by myself, typing out all of the syntax, ChatGPT has already created about 10. So yeah, I think it's best that you source like the raw information that you want to have here. This could be through episode transcripts. This could be through Wikipedia pages. This could be through forums. We'll leave that up to you. But yeah, this is a really effective method to take. Okay, so we see that we have our close parentheses on the bottom. That means it's connected to the top, and this is our full list of content. So let's copy this and now move that into our file. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of that since it's now processed. And then I'm going to paste in our new JSON formatted, our JSON formatted information. So here we have a question again, and then an answer. And then we have many rows of this. Essentially, again, if you're unfamiliar with JSON, you could think of it as a list of rows, a list of rows. You can think of it as like an Excel spreadsheet, but typed, and the rows are divided by these parentheses. So with this information, this is like your full data set. This is what you're feeding into our AI RAG system. So let's go ahead and make sure this is saved properly. And then as soon as you have this, you store it on your hard drive, you store it on your local flash drive, and then we could plug it into the system. So I have this titled as Arweave India sample dataset JSON. So let's go ahead and save that. Yeah, we could replace it. Okay. All right, I'm back here. Oh, I guess I should go back to the competition. All right, so let's go back to the competition. We've now made our raw JSON dataset. So welcome back to the competition pool. We're ready to participate and potentially dominate this this leaderboard. So last time I made my initial data set, we got a score of 57. Maybe with this Arweave India data set, we could get a higher score. If I refresh this page, it should let me join. Oh, well, maybe at this time I'm not able to because I have already submitted a data set. But essentially, the process would be right here, instead of saying submitted, I'm not sure if you guys could see like the title of this button. Instead of saying submitted, it would say join competition. All you do is click that, and you'll be prompted to connect your AI wallet, and you would type in the name of your data set. In this case, the name of my data set is Arweave India _ sample. And then I would select that from my files and then submit that. That's the whole process. It's like a 2-field form. So we've done all the groundwork by creating this data set. The submission is very simple and straightforward. Yeah, so I think that concludes my walkthrough in terms of building the data set. Yeah, sorry you couldn't see the submission, but again, it's very simple and straightforward. You just have to select your file and then title it.
Yeah, that's all right. This is actually a really interesting presentation because you've made it relatable with like something that people are familiar with. Of course, Walter White, one of people's favorite shows. And then like you also went about the process in such detail. Like I really like the part where you not just showed how to go about submitting the data set, but also for guys, if you did not notice, I think Mateo gave a really great example of how you can prompt AI models in general, giving them some example context then the raw data, and then the prompt. That's a solid format for getting like really context aware information rather than just like generalist responses. So yeah, that was super cool as well. But yeah, so you're doing these competition polls. Can you tell us, what's the purpose of these competition polls, and what's next for Apus, and where this leads us to?
Yeah, so in terms of what these competition pools are for, it's mainly just these are one to get people involved within our ecosystem, and it's also going to be a really good stress test for our on-chain RAG system, and just a stress test for our current processes. So with the competition pools in the future, the idea is to have these pools. So there's going to be, instead of just Apus Network, I'll continue to show my screen. I think I have like a nice diagram. Just a moment. Let
Yeah,
me
sweet.
pull
That
this
would
up
be
from my
awesome.
yeah. I'll go ahead and explain this aloud though. Okay. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then begin to present exactly what these pools mean, what they are, and who's involved in them. So yeah, I think at this point you're able to see like how it works.
Yep.
So yeah, this is an older diagram. At this point we won't be training, but essentially in the background, our AI models and data sets are going to be stored on Arweave, and we are going to be providing this deterministic layer for inference execution. Now, these pools, we have people who are interacting with these pools. One is the funder of the pool, or founder, creator of the pool. So if you have a specific AI model that you want to create, you're able to kind of establish this competition, and in sort of a like bounty style competition, you'll be providing some monetary value behind it. One, this will like establish the time horizon that it's available for, in terms of like people being able to participate within the competition, and the top participant will be able to claim the reward. And this is like a very natural incentive for people to begin to participate. And for those who are unfamiliar with AI and data set creation, but they want a specific AI model, they would be able to post this themselves. So for the users that want a specific AI model, they could create that for a price, but they wouldn't create it themselves. They would open up its creation to the community, and this does two things at a more like macroeconomic level. One of those things is kind of bringing incentive to have the best quality AI models within any number of pools. So if you think of back to our Walter White pool, we have an incentive, which is just our testnet tokens, and people have just the natural desire to win those tokens. So to do that, you have to create the most comprehensive, best responsive data set that you can. So there's a natural incentive for people to make a good data set. So that we wouldn't really would need to be worried about people making bad data sets. Another thing is that um, we have a staking mechanism that you would be able to stake within any of these pools. that you think will be performing well or have been performing well in the past, and they will have kind of like their own market. So you put some stake into it, and then you'll receive some AO yield. Or sorry, you put some AO yield to stake in within this, and then you'll receive some Apus. Now, with the system, it's really cool because you're not only getting Apus, but you're kind of like buying a percentage of ownership. And through this ownership, it'll be controlled through something that's very unique to Arweave and AO, which is the Universal Data License. So
Okay.
whenever there's this creator of a pool, you have complete ownership over it. But as people begin to stake within this, they have some purchasing power to like purchase some of this universal data licensing, which I think is something that's really cool. And this in turn brings more incentive to the best performing pools, and that way like you could think of it as like the liquidity of money will travel naturally to the pools that one are most used because it'll just travel to the pools that are most used because that's the one that will yield the highest return for people who want to stake. So personally, I wouldn't stake into a pool that me and everyone else deems kind of worthless, just in the sense that it's going to be used in a very limited way. So yeah, that's kind of like the two levels of incentivization. So the people within the pools have incentive to create quality data sets, and the people who are staking within these pools, staking inside the pools, have incentive to stake within um, quality pools, and the pools represent like a type of AI model.
Okay.
So obviously, in this pool, our competition pool, we are showcasing the Walter White AI model. Yeah. If anyone has questions about that, feel free to ask.
Yeah, actually, pretty neat. I think we need more context-specific AI models because we have these generalist tools, uh, which you need to really figure out how to prompt you to get exactly what you're looking for. But if they're trained on specific data sets, it just makes that process easier and can have like wider
Yeah.
applications as well. So we do have a few questions here. The first question from Aditya. He's asking if the evaluation is based on some test questions, but I think we addressed that in the challenge submission where you showed us a demo.
Yeah, so there isn't an evaluation data set. However, the evaluation data set is closed from the public, so you wouldn't be able to use that. And the reason we do that is kind of similar to just like other like general AI testing. So there's always going to be an evaluation data set just for general testing purposes. And what it is if you have like a full training data set, um, how the system works is you pull some of this information. So I take this away and I save this for evaluation. And then with this data, I use it to train. And then here I have like my solid questions and answers. And whenever I prompt against this, then I deem my trained AI model worthy or not. So we have our own exclusive like evaluation data set that even I don't have access to. So you wouldn't be able to have access to this, but you are able to see your performance. At this point in time, I'm not sure if you're able to submit only one data set. In the past, the thing was you were able to submit many data sets, but only your top performing data set would be recognized.
Okay, so there's no way to update the current submissions either, right?
I guess the way to do that would be to submit a new data set. So for example, with the data set I just created, I could go back to another Wikipedia page. I could download the transcript of an episode, and then continue to create more JSON rows. And with these JSON rows, I could add them to my data set and then resubmit. this would be considered a new data set. But obviously it's the same data set, just with more information, more relevance information. And it may or may not perform higher, but whichever of the two performs higher, then that's your new best data set. And this you'll know by the system, because you've named it whenever you submitted the JSON file.
Yeah, so we have another question from Theo here, who's asking, is everything safe to SQLite?
Yeah, we use some SQL vectors. We use like SQL extensions. So yes, I think the answer would be to say that we do use SQL extensions within our system. Like we use SQL vector database for the RAG, for our RAG system.
Gotcha. And these Apus testnet tokens, which people are going to receive from these competition pools, how do they convert to the mainnet?
I think that's a question best answered in the future or closer to mainnet. Yeah, that's something I'll have to ask or prompt my internal team.
Gotcha. So in the meantime, like while I think someone is typing more questions, what's in future? Like, what does the future roadmap look like for Apus over the next few months?
Yeah, so for the next few months, obviously we have our TGE for Q4, and it's December 28th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, December 28th. So next month is December. That's the end of the Q4. So I think something will happen pretty soon there for our TGE. Yeah, so just keep an eye out on our channels for announcements for this. After that, we'll really just be focusing on incorporating the deterministic GPU, because right now, still this is run on CPUs or some GPUs that aren't completely deterministic. So we've been working on testing deterministic GPUs that are on chain. Now, in our previous competition pools, we used deterministic GPUs that were off-chain, and the whole idea is to have them connected to AO, which we've had some recent breakthroughs over the past handful of weeks, which is really exciting. Now we're working on creating a AO extension for this deterministic GPU, and the way people would access it is through just regular standards of like low-level GPU control through the command line interface. But instead of the command line interface being through some other OS, it would be through AOS, Arweave operating system. Yeah, so we're just pretty much trying to create a I guess recreate the standardized GPU, the standardized GPU like input output system within AO, just so people are able to talk to it. Yeah.
Sweet. So we have a follow-up question here. How is inferencing parallelized on AO? Or are there GPUs connected with AO using something like an Oracle?
So yeah, the GPUs wouldn't be connected through an Oracle whenever we have them connected as an AO extension. The idea is to have a WASM runtime environment within AO, and currently that's something that happens within AO. So the whole thing would be how to have the GPU process something within this WASM runtime environment, instead of us connecting to an Oracle type of system. So with this AO WASM, we're connecting our GPU within that by compiling C into WASM compatible code, and running this C code through a Lua, pretty much just like a Lua processor. And I call it Lua processor. I know on Arweave, they call their code processes. So maybe I'll come up with a new word. We have this process that we write in Lua that interacts with this C code that is WASM compatible. And I think there's another question about not the Oracle system, but the parallelization. Yeah. So at this point, the inference is parallelized in the sense like that your own prompt is not going to be parallelized. Rather, it's I guess it's parallelized to an extent, but in terms of the actual computation, it will be through either currently right now a single GPU or a GPU cluster. Like that's the extent of parallelization. But if you want to get into the weeds, there's some like low level parallelization where there's this llama herder. So whenever you send in a prompt, it's going to be sent to this llama herder, and there's like a parallel set of CUs within our compute units within the Arweave ecosystem that the llama herder then sends various prompts to. So, for example, if all 8 of us, all 10 of us in this hangout have sent a prompt immediately right now, they would all go directly to this llama herder, and then from there they would be redirected into another process.
Gotcha. So we have another question from Theo. Is there a way of fetching or generating embeddings programmatically in AO? If someone was to create their own vector database while using AO Llama.
There is actually. So we have an embedding process within AO. Let me see if I could pull up the GitHub repository really quickly. So I'll just pull up the GitHub repository. But under Apus Labs, we have an embedding service. I think this should be under like our AOS service. But we do our embedding through AO at this point.
Awesome. So if you could like share the repository once we create the forum, that would be super cool. I think Aditya here is also trying to make something similar. So awesome. I'll set up that forum so y'all can continue chatting here.
Great.
Apart from that particular forum, what's the best way to reach out to you or the Apus team if someone has doubts, feedback, or are looking for some collaboration, perhaps?
If you're looking for like a collaboration, just any type of outreach, feel free to connect with our Discord channel or our Telegram. I think Discord channel is probably a better place to connect personally. It's just like a better information management system. But yeah, I could send a invitation to our general chat here. So I'll copy this into the our group.
Sweet.
So feel free to reach out to us whenever. I just dropped it into the chat.
Yeah, I think Theo has found your repo there, which you were searching for.
Yes, AOS rag. I think it should. Yeah, it's that AOS rag. That one.
Awesome. Now, because we have like a few founders in the audience or future founders or builders, we want to hear some insights from you that could augment their journey. That you've picked up in your entire process.
So is this mainly asking for advice for future founders or current founders?
Either this is like general advice. It can be specific to AI. It can be specific to AO, or this can be like generalist insight that can help founders in their journey.
I think for I'll target this towards new founders for now. or like soon to be, or people who are like thinking about creating something but don't really have like any like information about how to approach this. I think I was in a similar situation maybe like 1.5 years ago where I was thinking to myself like there's so many things I want to create, but like how do I really start? So I joined the university blockchain club with hopes to like meet other like-minded people, and I saw people like beginning to just like hack things out by themselves, which is a really good approach. And yeah, I think just taking the first step is really what matters. If you have this burning passion to create something, you don't really know where to start, then that's how the journey begins. Like it's very scrappy. You're not going to really know what you're doing at the beginning, but the more you interact with it, similar to like learning a new language, like whenever you see this page of random words, you're not going to understand it, but it's about interacting with this unknown thing, like exploring it, getting used to it. And after reading like for weeks, months at a time, you're able to begin to like flow through the pages instead of like reading word by word. You're just like you're in very much of a flow, similar to doing building anything you want, whether it's like understanding AI, understanding like cybersecurity, like any field you want to get into. If you want to build a startup, just begin to build. Um, what build means is up to you really, but it's really just about the process more than like the end result. You're not going to be able to paint the end results before you begin the process. So you have to stay within the weeds the whole time. If you don't know how to code and you want to build like a programming application, like a programmed application, then you're gonna have to open up VS Code, begin to type. Your GitHub is not going to be managed well, or your code base is going to probably be a mess. But you'll be able to recreate it, and over time, it's something you'll get used to. Really.
That's actually really solid insight and quite fundamental as well. So, just sharing a quick anecdote there. The way I learned programming was I found this community called Developer DAO, and we basically started building, like a group of us started building this academy, which was an online smart contract tutorial for helping people uh, start building their own NFT collections with like the whole coding part. And we basically coded the whole platform, and that's how me and a bunch of other guys learned front end development and connecting to smart contracts and things that. So yeah, basically like diving headfirst into any project is the way to go, I would say. Yeah. Uh, so, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Uh, if you guys have any questions, again, like I'll create a forum. Mateo, before we wrap up this session, do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to share with the audience?
Um, any final thoughts? Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to just reach out generally to the Apus Network. If you're curious to learn more, if you want like another presentation, some advice about creating, if you want to be like connected to other like-minded founders, Apus Network has our own network that we've been talking to. Also, again, like I'm with the president of like the Yale Blockchain Club. So if you're a founder and you're interested in doing like some presentation, or you have like some alpha you want to present, feel free to join that avenue as well. But yeah, we have resources. We're here to help. What one thing I love about the Arweave community, and I've seen it a lot, and I'm sure many others have noticed this, is that it's a very close knit community. Like everyone's happy to reach out to each other, and I'm happy to like answer any questions that people have. Yeah, so like it's like an open information kind of open source community. But the idea is to be fair, to be honest. So yeah, and to be helpful. So please reach out.
Awesome. Thank you for that note there. Would love if you could share some links once we have that chat going. And thank you so much for a super insightful session. Like, I think you covered all the bases very nicely and in a very approachable manner, which was super fun to watch, and it was like quite immersive because of course, it touched a
Yeah.
little on like something common that we share, which is like Walter White and Breaking Bad and things like that. Um, so once again, thank you so much for joining us on this seventh episode of Hacker Hangouts. Thank you guys for sticking around. Feel free to tag Mateo if you have any questions. Join their Discord as well, and participate in like the competition polls that they have upcoming. It's like a super fun way to just experiment with like things that are happening in the Arweave and AO ecosystem. And quick note, guys, we have the Hacker House 3 happening this weekend and the coming week. So we will take a break from this podcast for the coming week. And then the week after, we will kick back in. Uh, but do share some love on the posts that we are putting out through Arweave India. That's it on my end. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Peace.